Earlier this year, the Minister of Trade and Industry announced plans to create 500,000 sustainable jobs. How will this be achieved?
Yeah, first of all, why did we put this new strategy? The first reason is that we need to have a clear roadmap for us as a government to follow, to know where we are going. And second reason is that for international investors and national investors, they need to read the country. So they need to anticipate what's the vision of the country, and to have a clear vision help us to bring more investors. So we went from a diagnostic that we have done, which was that we had some strong points in Morocco. The first one is that we are an open economy, and we have more than 56, I think, FTA with different countries. We are the only country in Africa to have an FTA with the United States, which is valuable on the trading side, but also on the investment side. The second point is that we have a strong stability on the political side, but also on the economic side. We show strong growth, an average of 5% during the last decades, with a very low inflation, as you may know. But also on the political sides, I mean, Morocco is one of the most stable countries in the whole region. The other diagnostic that we put is that we have a strong infrastructure development. As you may know, Tanger Med is the biggest harbor in the Mediterranean Sea. We have Casablanca Airport that is connected to more than 30 African countries. So given this data, we try to see how we can move from our position to an more emerging markets. And when you study different cases like Malaysia or Turkey or South Korea in a certain period, you find out that they all went through a very intense period where the part of industry in the GDP was more or less like Morocco, which is 14%, to a higher number, about a quarter of the GDP, about 25%. So if we want to move to this level of development, we need to go through an intense and important industrial. That's why we highlighted, and we met all the, we had a special focus on the industrial sector.
How important are industries like aeronautic and automotive for job creation?
Yeah, it's very important. So once we decided that we are going into it, we put a clear objectives, a clear targets that we want to create. So we want to create 500,000 jobs in industry. We want to add an additional 9 points of the industrial value in the GDP, and we want our balance to be equal to 0. So what we want to do is, for the existing sectors, we want to have a higher integration rate, which means that the SMEs have to be parts of the development of the sectors. For example, if you take a Renault plant in Tangier, we want to develop all the brand of SMEs that can be suppliers for Renault plants. And this is a big factor of job creation. The second measure, of course, that we put a new industrial fund that is fully public, which will be about $2.5 billion. It's a big amount, and it's the biggest amounts that have been put in place for the industrial sector. We focused on land also, on the financial sectors, and we try to make in place an offset strategy. That are the main measure. So for different sectors, we want the existing sectors, like automotive. As you may know, this year, for the first time, the exports coming from the automotive sector is higher than the phosphate. This is a structural change in the Moroccan economy, and we need to capitalize on it and to make it much more profitable for us. Of course, there is new sectors that we want to develop, like the renewable industry, renewable energy industry. We got the agribusiness that is in our targets, textile, and a strong partnership with the OCP, which is the main, the biggest company in the country.
What changes are being made to free trade agreements to encourage further foreign investment?
To be honest, the free trade agreement, especially the one that we signed with the United States, has still a full potential, and it will have our focus. We signed it in 2006, but the potential is huge, and we need to work on it to make it more valuable. Especially that today we are putting ourselves, we have a geographical position that put us 9-day ships. If you want to ship a container from Tangier to the United States, only 9 days. And the other development is that regarding our continent, Africa. Everyone agrees today that the next area of growth is Africa. Business community knows that better than anyone else. It's the part of the world where you have the highest return rate on your investments. And Morocco wants to be developed these past years a strong knowledge of this market, especially in the financial sector, the bank sector, infrastructural sector, telecommunications. So we know how to deal with our continent, and this could be an additional card that could be used by the foreign investors. The other important point is that what we are seeing in China today is higher wages. And higher wages means that the world will change quite quickly. And Morocco, with its proximity to Europe, wants to position itself cleverly with this new data that we have on the world global economy. We are seeing a huge interest from the Chinese investment in Morocco.
When will Morocco allow private sector management of prisons, hospitals and schools, and how will it go about this?
It's in the program for the health for 2015. We have a strong advancement in the education side. So it's something that is putting itself slowly in place, which is and we support it. And it needs to be done very carefully, and with the right way to do it.
Is Morocco considering rebasing its GDP?
I mean, it's something that we are trying to do, because now we have the perception of GDP is changing now in the world. But the most important is to create added value for us in Morocco, and this is something that we are looking at very carefully, and that's where we have leverage, and that's where we have opportunity to work on, more than recalculating.
What are the latest figures and trends on the size of Morocco's informal sector?
It's mainly, as you may know, mainly male, but the thing is that it's a sector that we change our vision to deal with it. We used to fight against it. Now we want to integrate this sector. And to integrate this sector, you need to have a clear analysis of this sector. Most of this, why the complexity exists, is that most of the workers there are not, they are living in the low class of the society. So you need to be very careful when you're integrating it. So, and when you analyze the sector, you find out that more than 90% of people working there are self-employed or very small enterprise, which means less than 2 employees or less than $300,000 as a turnover. And when you take this data, it means as a government we're going to have a special focus on self-employed, and we have a specific program for this that will be voted before end of years in the parliament, and we will give importance to very small enterprises, and this is in our finance project for 2015. So by having specific attention, by giving specific attention to these two specific enterprises, we want to integrate this sector.
What are the targets for growth of the SME market in 2015?
You have to know that it's going to be the main focus for us, because what we want to do is to create the link between the big enterprises and the SMEs business. This link will create more technology and technical knowledge for the SMEs when they deal with big enterprise. And the big enterprise is the visible part of the icebergs, and this SMEs needs to be a real part of it. So this link will make us that will create more jobs, and if you have one job created at a big enterprise level, you will have, we want 3 or 2 or more, maybe 5 in the SMEs level, and probably 8 in the very small enterprises.